Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, we're gonna start now, yeah?
Bismillah.
Okay. Who is the
Bismillah,
host? Can you make
alhamdulillahi
me the
rabbi.
host?
Yeah, I'll make you host in a second. 1 second. Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone back to the Zoom discussion. So just a quick introduction. We've had the last two discussions. First one was about the role of the husband in his role in the family, and the second was concerning the wife's role in holding together the family unit. And throughout these two discussions, we've had loads of comments and issues within people's marriages. What if my husband is doing this? What if the wife is not doing this? So what we're trying to do now, what we're trying to discuss now is what in reality is actually the perfect marriage. What is it? Is there such thing as the perfect marriage? And if so, what are its attributes? What are its qualities? Do we expect our partners to be perfect, to be faultless? Or should we actually expect some faults in our partners? The issue is, how do we deal with those faults? So we have with us our staff, our teacher, Mara Taka. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ahlan wa sahlan. Jazakallah khair for having me on your show, your blessed show. Hopefully lots of barakah will be spread to the ummah, and people will hopefully
Inshallah.
learn what they need in their lives and implement it to the best of their abilities, inshallah ta'ala. Don't forget, Brother Ismail, in your du'as, in sujood.
Yes. So, Sheikh, what is, or help us to understand, what is the perfect marriage?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, perfection or the perfect marriage. I think the best thing to begin with that one is to understand those two words. Before we put them together, we need to understand those two individual words. So a marriage is a contract between two people agreeing that either side will fulfill the rights of the other for mutual benefit, so that either side can get what they need, inshallah ta'ala, in this life, and help prepare them for the next life. And also, very, very, very importantly, how to prepare the next duf'a, the next batch of human beings, the next generation, moving forward. Islam is not just an individual religion or a religion for the individual. Islam is a religion for the ummah, for mankind moving forward. So many of what we... I'm on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fadl, Sheikh.
Yeah, so many of what Islam legislates and encourages may not even be for the individual or even for the couple, but might be even for the ummah or for the people moving forward or for later generations. So, yeah, that's the first element: marriage, a union, shari'i, legislated, announced, known, recognized union between two people for the benefit of themselves and for those around them.
Sorry, Sheikh, to cut you. So we should take in consideration the social benefits, the community benefits of the marriage, and not just our individual needs and wants.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a part of that union and the structure of the marriage, there is a social element to it beyond the two of them. So, for example, like the walima, I mean, the walima isn't really for the husband and wife, is it? It's for those around them, for everyone else to eat and enjoy and get their portion of the marriage. You could say, get their... I always tell people when
enjoyment
they get married, get their portion. I always tell people that when you get married, it has nothing to do with you. It's for your parents and for your family. As in, you might be stressed at how long the day is and how expensive it is. But it's not for you. That's the point. It's not. It's for others. So there
Mhm.
are elements that are for others, and how, especially when it comes to children, rearing children, raising children, visiting family. There's all sorts of things that come to. So there are hukuk, the rights that go beyond just the two of you. But then
Mhm.
we have the second word, which is perfect.
Mhm.
Um, and I think this is one of the interesting things about reality, really, about life, is that we have subjective perfection and we have objective perfection. Meaning that there's no such thing as the perfect person objectively. I mean, maybe subject, maybe for you, maybe your perfect person, it would be a guy or girl who loves Apple, represents the Apple fan club. Maybe
Yeah.
they love to travel. Maybe they love to, I don't know, they love Tesla cars. Maybe to you that perfect person is the one who loves to have a laugh,
Mhm.
has got a sense of humor, not sarcastic, not rude, got lots of money, got lots
Mm.
of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
whatever. I
Yes.
mean, that might be your vision of perfection, but
Mhm.
uh, the reality of things is that with every attribute that we may think as a good one or a positive one or a perfect one,
Mhm.
that isn't in all situations. I think that's what people sometimes fail to recognize, that sometimes, for example, good
Mhm.
example,
Mhm.
punctuation. Maybe you're an extremely punctual person. Maybe for you, being late 1 minute is annoying,
Mhm.
and you like someone who is like you, punctual, someone who is on time all the time. And yeah, there are circumstances where being punctual is great. I mean, obviously, of course, you would want something to be punctual. I mean, if someone says dinner's gonna be ready at 6, no one wants it to be ready at 7. Innit? I mean, no one's ready at 6. They expect it to be ready on time.
Mhm.
Um, but on the flip side, such people don't fare so well where there's a need for leniency, where there's a need for clemency, where there's a need for rahma. Maybe that person who is generally on late, maybe he's late because he's so relaxed, and that relaxation, that vibe that he has or she
Mhm.
has,
Mhm.
is necessary to keep maybe the family going. So yeah, so my point is that um, maybe it reminds me, what it is? It reminds me of the ayah.
Mhm.
Allah says, maybe, sorry, كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم. It has been prescribed for you to fight, although you dislike it.
Mhm.
Maybe
Mhm.
it is something that is good for you,
Mhm.
but you don't like it. Or maybe it's something that is bad for you, but you like it. Allah
Mhm.
knows and you do not know. So yeah, sometimes maybe that those attributes that you want, that you think is perfection, might not be a good idea, and maybe those attributes really annoying,
Mhm.
maybe a great idea.
That might
So
be
I'm
good for
saying
you. Yeah.
maybe good
Yeah.
for you. Yeah. So when we say perfect spouse or perfect marriage, um, it's also, what it is, it's like saying that the perfect white. The color white. I want a wall I want to paint the wall the perfect white or the perfect yellow or whatever. What does
Mhm.
that mean? What is the perfect white? I mean, white is white. You might like the other one. It might, I'm saying there's different things. There's a spectrum
Mhm.
of that. So the idea of a perfect marriage is highly subjective, uh, and circumstances will always change the way in which you perceive the attributes of those around you, including yourself. So I mean,
Mhm.
that's probably just a basic beginning thing to open up that discussion. Maybe.
Mhm. What about? Obviously, perfection to each individual, as you said, is subjective. But now, when we go into a meeting with an individual, we're looking for the perfect man or the perfect wife. Okay, who ticks all the boxes. Okay, so we have our vision. Everyone comes to the meeting. Chris says the right things. Um, yeah, I want to marry this person. Then they go home and they find out, oh, this man ain't so perfect. And
Mm-hmm,
both of them say, this woman ain't so perfect. This man ain't so perfect.
mm-hmm.
How do we deal with our imperfections in a marriage? Because we're going to find out each other's weaknesses, each other's faults. But now we've signed that contract. We've agreed to strive for these roles and to perfect these roles, but we know we have imperfections. How do we deal with those imperfections of our partners?
I mean, I think the first thing to recognize is that such expectations is false in the first place. I mean, for example, like I don't know if anyone's tried to, build something from wood or something, or try to, whatever it is, something they've never done before, and they now go and try to do it. I don't know, whether it's make a spreadsheet or paint a painting or bake a cake. The first time to do something, it's highly unlikely
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna do it great the first time. And if you do great the first time, it's highly unlikely you can sustain that. So
That greatness.
yeah, yeah.
You
So
can be
imagine
great for the first month.
it might be great for the first couple of batches of cakes, but the next one don't work out.
Yeah.
But the point is that if someone's never been married before, specifically as an example, someone's never been married before,
Mm-hmm.
how could you possibly be good at it? You've never done it before. Ever. I mean, ever. I mean, you've never ever in your life been married. So how could you possibly be good at something you've never done before
Mm-hmm.
at all? I see marriage as something that is an ongoing skill to develop rather than something that you have or you don't have.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Especially when you have to remember there's one very important part of psychology often people overlook,
Mm-hmm.
and that is that you today will not be the same person in the next 10 years. And that is a guaranteed fact. There is no single human being on the face of the earth that remains exactly the same every other decade. You
Mm-hmm.
change
Mm-hmm.
because you, the next 10 years, are you plus the 10 years in between. So whatever you've learned, whatever you've experienced, whatever you've done, those things are going to shape you.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully for the better, not make you bitter. They'll shape
Yes.
you. So that means that whoever you marry at the beginning, know for a fact that they're not going to be the same person in the next 10 years. So it's
Mm.
like saying, yeah, I want to marry this person because if I marry a person who's like this and like that, and blah, 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 that means we're going to be perfect together forever. But how? Because it's going to change.
Yes.
It's like it's
Um.
like it's like shoes, isn't it? You buy shoes, you wear them, they're nice and crisp, and then after a couple of months, they start to get a bit tattered, and then
But
you
then
get a hole.
those shoes being tattered, they're more comfortable.
There you go,
You
innit?
get what I'm
You
saying?
have to wear them in, innit? You have to
You
wear
have
them
to
in.
wear them in. So in that what's the word that I won't say tiredness or that weariness is actually a better fit. But we're gonna come back to that. So
Yeah.
so an individual wants to get married. They embarking on they're meeting the individual. Um, does that individual have to be perfect before they embark on getting married?
No. So I always tell people, look, at the end of the day, um, for marriage, I believe you need basic compatibility
Mm-hmm.
and then just do the deed. Do the thing. Don't waste time. As for this long boxes that people tick, 90% of those things that you would want is not necessary. Facts.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one case I know of one brother. We had a marriage event and he met the sister and he was like, yeah, she ticks all the boxes, but just one thing
Mm-hmm.
I really can't deal with. I said, what's that? She goes, she's a bit short.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, are you serious, bro? He says, yeah. I mean, I'm not that tall, but she's really short. I said, are you telling me that you found a sister who you're confident that she's going to be a good mother, a good wife, good character, good dean,
Mm-hmm.
and the one thing that is bugging you is the same thing that's not going to bug you, guaranteed after a while? Are you telling me that it's going to really bug you forever? That you can be like, oh, I can't take this; it's just too short. Or is it
Mm.
something that it's like you're not even going to notice it after a while?
Mm.
And he looked and he thought, you know what, you're right. And they got married. And they've been married ever since. I've been since they got married like probably 2013, I think, or 14.
Mm.
Anyway, the point is, uh, unfortunately, we see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people turn down perfectly good candidates for irrelevant things. I mean, things that are not even that important. It may be important for you right now, but it isn't really that important in the grand scale of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, basic compatibility. I mean, maybe this person's irritating. I mean, obviously, that's not. If you would know that very soon, how well you get on. Maybe that
Yeah.
person's got, maybe the tone of their voice is just so
Okay. Okay.
jarring.
Someone's sent a quick question in regards to compatibility and being happy with the basics. Okay, we're going to have meetings. How many meetings do you think someone should have to say, you know what, this person is right, is okay for me, and whatever comes after marriage, we can work on. Because we want the basic compatibility that we should say, you know what, this can work. What would you encourage first of all in regards to getting to know a prospective partner?
Before even talking about that, actually, I think that I have to address a very important part of a very important issue that I see with a lot of people, men and women,
Mm-hmm.
is that a lot of people actually have a lot of anxieties about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Forget even meeting the person; they themselves have their own personal anxieties about getting married. And sometimes the more you see, the more they have it, the more you see them delay to their 30s, mid 30s, and they're still not married yet. And how you not married yet? Oh, I ain't found the right
Mm.
person. Not possible. Not possible. Not possible. In 15 years, you ain't found the right person. Not possible.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
the
Yes.
issue is anxieties. Oh, this person, he said this one way. That person said that one way.
Okay.
If imagine I get into the marriage and he's like that. Imagine I do that. It's anxieties. It's like I'm scared of
Yes.
taking that step because I fear that if I take that step, I'm gonna be in this torturous marriage for life. It's anxieties. I think personally, people have to first address those if they have that in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that marriage is not going to be, as you said, it's not going to be a perfect thing. Whatever the person is, you have to work on it together, and don't be frightened of marriage. I know
Mm-hmm.
another issue which I think exacerbates anxieties is that people think that they have to get it right the first time. You
Mm-hmm.
don't. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
we have a culture of some of the Muslim, especially Muslim men, whereby if a woman has been married before, they're not interested, which I think is extremely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But putting that aside, you don't have to get it right the first time, and divorce is not a problem. It's
Mm-hmm.
there in case it doesn't go right,
Mm-hmm.
and it's best to the fact that it's there is an avenue, it's a rahmah for us, just like any old business deal. If you do business
Mm-hmm.
with someone and you find this person not good in his dealings, you end the contract,
Mm-hmm.
you part company and move on. And that should be the same thing with marriages as well. I know it's difficult. People feel if it doesn't work out, there's something wrong with them. They can't get married again. No one's interested. No, it's not. So the first thing is remove those anxieties, put them aside,
So
and just
I mean, these anxieties could be how you interpret this prospective partner, how you look upon him. Do you, um, what's the word? Go into too much detail in regards to what he's saying, what he's not saying, body language. Does he earn enough money? Is he too tall, too short? Um, as I say, if his dean is good and he's got good manners, is it just a case of just getting married on those two things? He's got dean and he's got good manners. He's earning and get married, or should we nitpick and get into details?
yeah, like I said, there are people who nitpick on details, and like I said, it's about having the overall. It's like employing people for work. I know it's hard if you never employed someone before or
Mm-hmm.
had the opportunity to employ someone. It might be difficult to perceive what I'm saying, but it's like employing someone. You have to
Mm-hmm.
look at their CV, look at the interview they have with them, and you don't look at what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what they could potentially do. What is
Mm-hmm.
their potential? What can they do later on? Are there someone who, for example, has no acumen to pick up himself and learn a new skill? Is it someone who's not has no drive? I mean, there's lots of things about a person. Maybe the
Mhm.
person is unemployed. Let me give you an example. Maybe someone's unemployed,
Mhm.
like a man. Maybe the man's unemployed. He hasn't got a job to his name, but he's hardworking.
Mhm.
Historically speaking, he's done whatever he could to get some money in his hand. It
Mhm.
hasn't worked out in the past, but you can see consistently he's been trying.
Mhm. Mhm.
That shows potential. Right now, it might not be something, but there's potential. Or for example, how well does the person take criticism? How well does the person take compliments? I mean, these kind of things as well. It
Mhm.
shows potential. So it's almost like it's like an investment. You can almost say it's like an investment. If you're going to invest your money into something, you have to
Mhm.
find out. Okay, does this thing even have legs on it to stand? Not right now,
Mhm.
but in 1 year, 2 years, moving forward, do they have that potential? So, for example, how would you judge that? Okay,
Mhm.
does the person have siblings? How are they with their siblings? How, do,
Mhm.
do, do, how are they with their parents? How are they with their relatives, their family? If they
Mhm.
if they got beef with their mom, they don't talk to their siblings, and they got beef with their neighbors. I mean, that's kind of telling you something, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's a big clanger.
that's,
Yes.
that's telling you something. Maybe they're nice to you,
Yes.
but what the question is why? What is the issue with others? So you got to look at the 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 potential more than what's right
Mm.
here, what's there and then right now.
Mhm.
Um,
I
go on.
want to kind of bring up a scenario. One of the sister brought up a scenario that she finds it difficult to be this obedient or traditional wife. And she's been divorced a couple of times because she's used to being independent. Maybe she's independent, she's a strong woman, and whatever relationship she's had in the past haven't worked out. Now, obviously, we don't know what the issues are, but there's a couple of things that come to mind. Okay, one was the husband that she married not able to have that insight that people develop, people change. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, okay, maybe you're a rough diamond now or uncut diamond now, but we can work that out and smooth that out. Or maybe the brother's saying, you know what, I want a diamond cut ready. I ain't got no time to work on nobody. You've got to be that perfect diamond right now. Otherwise, in 2 weeks, we're going to divorce. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
What would you say to that person, or to that a couple like that, for example, where the sister might find it hard to be the so-called traditional wife, but then the husband is saying, no, I want my food on time, house clean, kids did da, 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 da. What would you say to them in order to have that so-called perfect marriage?
I mean, if you were talking about the issue of the interview and you want to assess the person for marriage, that will be one of the main things to discuss beforehand, isn't it? I mean, lay
Mm-hmm.
your cards on the table, say this
Mm-hmm.
is how I am,
Mm-hmm.
this is how I'd like to be. Can we take this journey together, and can we help each
Mm-hmm.
other in this journey? If it, and just be honest. I mean, there's nothing you can really lose
Yes.
by being honest. Um, but I mean, the thing is,
I mean,
the
that's
way
that's
you put it.
that's a that is a fundamental point, actually. Being not being honest at your meetings. That if you do have, like some people mention, husband's got trauma. Um, this one might find it difficult to be traditional. That people should be upfront with whatever issues they have, and then, as you said, you can develop together.
I mean, so it's like I said, the way you asked you the previous question and kind of
Hmm.
way you asked this one as well. It's hard to give a general answer
Hmm.
to what seems like a specific question.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, for example, a sister saying that she's finding it hard to be obedient. Well, I mean, the
It
question
might, it
might.
might, it might not even be, it might not even be obedience, but because he's been independent, it might come down to obedience when you think about it. But because he's been independent, she might find it hard to say, okay, I'll be home at this time and do whatever. But anyway, there's some issues there.
Yeah, but I'm saying is that in that scenario, for example, there's so many questions I could ask. I mean, what do you mean by being obedient? And I mean, uh, uh, there are levels of expectation that comes to obedience. Some of it is a bit excessive in my view, and
Yeah.
some of it is reasonable. So, for
Yes.
example, there was a when I was young, back in, this shows my age in it. Back in the days when I think in the 90s,
Mm.
I think I was 90s. Assalamu alaikum. So my daughter, close the door, close the door. So there was one film called Coming to America. Do you remember that one? Eddie
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Yes. Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
And the opening scene was some woman who he's supposed to marry, and he goes, "What food do you like?" And she goes, "Whatever food you like." And he goes, "What kind of things you like doing?" "Whatever things you like doing." It's like basically she was like whatever he wanted it to be.
Yes.
And sometimes some men have this vision that this is how women are supposed to be. Like, I want to do this. Why are you arguing, woman? Obedience.
Mm.
And also, I always think of that scene because it's like doesn't exist. that,
Yes.
that
Oh,
doesn't exist.
it's boring though, really. It's like, come on, do something, man. You know what I'm saying? Have an opinion.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a mutual thing,
Hmm.
where both people have to work in it. But what I sometimes like to ask people sometimes when they ask me these things is that, okay, look, let's look at this here. For example, as an example, imagine a
Hmm.
woman meets a guy for marriage and he hasn't got a job, and she says no, he has to have a job because
Hmm.
if he hasn't got a job, I'm not interested. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's take two. Yeah, let's take two on this one. She meets a guy. Say, have you got a job? Yeah, I've got a job. Okay, now she's interested. Is that good? Yeah,
Hmm.
she said good. Alhamdulillah. So I say, sister, what happens if once you marry him, he loses his job?
Hmm.
Then what? Are you gonna leave him now because he loses his job?
She's
I mean,
committed, bruv. She's committed now. You go on.
what I'm saying is that the first guy never had a job,
Yes.
but he had a potential to get one. The second guy
Yeah.
had a job, but then lost it. I mean, do you see that this issue of having a job wasn't
Yes.
really a factor?
But it's fundamental at the beginning, though.
Not necessarily. I'm saying it depends. Like I
Okay.
say, it really depends. So, for example, if someone's young,
Mm.
like 19, 18, even 20,
Hmm.
it's possible that they can get married and still stay at their
Yes.
parents' houses and then work on it and then develop and then move it on. But it's possible to do that. You don't necessarily have to
Mm.
have a job right now, otherwise cut off.
Mm.
Or if
Mm.
and like I said, apply that same rule, that same psychology to other things.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, I know for a fact people change. I know
Yes.
when I first got married, I was very adamant. I was very staunch in my practice of certain things, to the extent, brother, that I refused to sleep on a mattress because I wanted to sleep on the floor. Sunnah. Messenger of Allah never had mattress. I'm not sleeping on a mattress.
Was you an extremist then? You think you're an extremist?
No, no. I
This is
think
in Medina or here?
here and Medina, but in Medina I got weakened a bit.
Okay. Okay.
What my point was is that for me, I see it that for me at that time it
Hmm.
was relevant to me because I was a new Muslim, coming from an
Hmm.
old lifestyle, embracing something to that extent I felt was necessary for me, so
Hmm.
that when I do find my footing in Islam, I'm not going back to old ways. I might relax back to normality, but not going back to jahiliyyah. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
As
Hmm.
opposed to coming over here into like the middle ground and then after time relaxing back to jahiliyyah. I thought that going to that one extreme, when I do relax the grip, you could say,
Yeah.
I haven't lost grip of the item. So I'm saying my point was is that at that time, how I was right then is not how I am now. And
Yes.
I'm sure you could say the same about yourself, and I'm sure everyone
Yeah.
could say the same about themselves. When they first got married, they had certain perceptions. It
Hmm.
must be this way, it must be that way, and this I don't like that kind of thing. I can't take that attitude, blah blah blah. But once you work on it and take your time to try and make it work, once you get past the first 10 years, or I should say 7 years, once you get past the
Hmm.
7 year age, then you're good to go. It will take time for both
Hmm.
sides to coalesce. And think about it. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if every day your husband is one way and every day you're one way,
Mm.
and you have sabr with each other, at some point, these two sides of the thing will come together and would
Hmm.
match.
Mm.
Generally speaking. I mean,
So,
generally speaking.
so, um, the perfect marriage that you think is going to have future, it's going to have fruits, it's going to be a strong bond that's going to be able to get through anything. What are those characteristics then? What is the, when you go sit down with a person at a meeting, your mentality is what, when you see this person in front of you, another human being, okay, you're attracted to her, she's got some deen. What should your outlook be in regards to the future and how you're going to build with your partner?
I think one characteristic is almost fundamental to that, what you just said there, and that is the willingness to learn how to be a good husband or good wife, which stems from an acknowledgement of ignorance of how to be a husband or how to be a good wife.
Mm, beautiful, yeah.
If you go into a marriage knowing how to be a good husband in your head, you know what good wife should be, and you know what a good husband is. You know it already.
Mm,
If you know it already, then you finished. You
yes.
get wrecked. You get wrecked. And the joke is, the thing is, it's always, like I said, it's like anything really. It's not even unique to marriage. I see it in everything. When it comes to Islam, when it comes to even business, whenever someone comes to something fresh, they have a perception that they know, and only when you have experience, you realize you don't actually know. With
Mm,
time, you realize, no, it's actually, I don't really know. I thought I
mm,
knew. I thought it was straightforward. I thought this is why it is, but actually, that's not how it works.
mm. But before we get married, we always prepare. We always, well, I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna read this book
You
on
can't
marriage,
prepare,
how
brother.
to be. No, but we're gonna do the theory. We're gonna read, and we're gonna. Um, but there are some things that you can't read, like your own character, your own patience. Do you have to learn that from your father, from your parents, from your mother? That you have to be wise. You're young, and you have to have this wisdom to get through these ups and downs. Do you get what I'm saying?
You know what's interesting? What you said there
Bit-
about this, about, you mentioned a key word there, a father,
Mm,
basically a parent. What I find odd, well, not odd, I find interesting
mm-hmm,
is how people can have sabr with all the quirks and nonsense that their parents come with,
mm-hmm,
but they can't have patience with their spouses.
mm-hmm.
Does that make
Me,
sense? I mean,
yeah,
you can have a father or a mother who's completely unreasonable, but we take it and we move on. But when it comes to our
mm-hmm.
spouse, we can't accept it.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
So basically, we need to. The first thing is to acknowledge how someone is. You could try your best to advise, but at the end of the day, sure I understand. So it's Siri. But
Mm,
once you've got to, you've seen as far you can go, move on. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes, especially when it comes to the men, as the hadiths advise the men, don't try and straighten the rib, otherwise it'll crack, isn't it? So there comes a point where you try to correct, and that attempt itself would cause the destruction of the marriage. So I think, if anything, one thing that I would say is a telltale sign of a successful marriage
mm-hmm,
is when either spouse can bear the other. I'm gonna say bear as in
mm-hmm.
they whatever their person does is no longer, they've got used to it. It's just what it is. It is.
Mm.
It is just what it is.
But at the same time, either partner, the husband and wife, should not be oppressed. For example, whatever they're going to bear, whatever shortcomings their partners have, it shouldn't lead to, some, for example, someone wrote a sister that, oh, my husband hasn't slept with me for months, right? She's not going to bear that. Like, she's going to say, well, okay, well, that's the marriage, isn't it? There's a cutoff. So in that scenario, just how would you work that situation out?
Yeah. So for example, what you just said there, but
Mhm,
a spouse has not been sleeping with the other one for a while.
mhm,
My first question would be, not, oh, stuff for the last quite bad, but my question is, why?
mhm,
uh there must be a reason for it. I mean, no one just does nothing for no reason. There has to be a reason for it.
mhm,
And maybe you can try and figure out how you can address this, not
mhm,
make it worse, not make an argument, but how you can address it. And this is where you need to have a conversation, if
mhm,
possible. If you can't have a conversation, get a third party involved, have a conversation. But what I find often, which is unfortunate, is that when people have problems in their marriage, there's almost like a taboo to even have a conversation, to even get
Mm.
someone else involved. So if I had problems with the taxman, yeah, if I had problems with the taxman,
Mhm.
um, he sent me a letter saying, yeah, he's gonna come and do an audit on my business, and I'm starting
Mhm.
panicking. First thing I do is go to an accountant, get some advice. What can I do? What's he gonna do to me? I'm gonna get in trouble.
Mhm.
But when it comes to marriage, no, don't say anything. Keep it quiet because what?
Because of
If
the shame, or
the shame.
yeah.
But that's the thing. What the only reason why you feel shame is if you think this false belief that everyone else's marriage is good. No, everyone else's
Mm.
marriage is exactly the same.
Mm.
They
Mm.
have
Mm.
problems like you have problems.
Yes.
You're probably going to a guy. You're probably going to a guy to get advice when 5 minutes before you, his wife was having to go at him.
Yes.
He might be advising you on what he's going through himself. I mean, no one is perfect. But
Mm.
the point
What?
is, go
Yeah.
on.
Now, the issue of looking at someone else's home and thinking, well, look at them. They're always going on holiday, or they're always doing X, Y, Z. Why can't we do that? As if to say that you don't know what is going on in that home. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People should focus on their own home and not think that, the family down the road are doing so well, because everyone has issues in their home
Well,
to a certain degree. To a certain degree.
generally, one thing that I mean, there are certain things which are definitely no-nos in a marriage
Yes.
under all circumstances, and one of them is what you mentioned just now.
Hmm.
This idea of comparing your marriage or comparing your spouse to someone else.
Hmm.
That's a move that deserves a slap. I mean, that's
To say that no, for example, the husband come back and said, you know what, my brother's wife washes feet every day. Why don't you do the same? Or the
yeah,
woman
that's
might
wrong.
probably say,
That's absolutely wrong.
Abdul just bought his wife a new car. Why don't you buy me? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's absolutely wrong because like I said, every marriage, every situation is different.
Mm.
And yeah, maybe he might do something and doesn't do it for you. Maybe there are things he does for you that the other guy doesn't do for her. So maybe he bought his wife
Yes.
a new car because she found out something that he has to buy a new car for. maybe maybe she found out something that he wasn't supposed to be doing. He had to sweeten her up somehow. I mean, there could be a lot of things that has led to that,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you can't. So anyway, the point is, I always find one of the most damaging things to a marriage is exactly that: comparing your spouse with somebody else. Keep
Mm.
your eye on your own thing and not look at the next man thing. That
Yes.
is that is a that is a given. I think Abdullah had to call it red eyes. Don't give red eyes. Don't look at other people's thing, what they have. Look at what you have. Focus
Yes.
on what Allah has given you, and be
Mm.
happy with what Allah's given you. If it's by the way, all this discussion we're having, by the way,
Mm.
is not to do with marriages that must end, because there are marriages that must end. And I think we have
Yes.
to also touch upon that. I mean, that we can't always say, yeah, work on it, work on it. No, there are some marriages that must end.
Mm.
And that's it. For example, marriages which are where there is, and this can be on either side, from the man or from the woman. It could
Mhm.
be physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse,
Mhm.
um, and I mean abuse. I mean genuine. I'm not too much just like accusations. A genuine abuse. These kind of things, it must end. Either it
Mhm.
must be fixed by getting a third party to come in and seek reconciliation. And if they can't fix, then end.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or the person must get help from counseling or what kind of stuff. See someone about it. And if anyone here needs to speak to someone, then speak to Sakun, SAKOON.co.uk. Is a Muslim organization dealing a collection of psychotherapists and counselors in West London. Very good, very good. I recommend them. They used to use our center Al Madad for
Mhm.
counseling other people.
Mhm.
And just recently, a brother had some. He was going through some emotional difficulties, so
Mhm.
I forwarded them or him to them,
Mhm.
and he came back waving the flag saying this was really good. So yeah, they you might need to speak to someone. You might need to speak to someone.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, yeah, if someone really has difficulties in their marriage, the first thing I would suggest they do is diagnose the problem
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
diagnose it as a problem. Sometimes people have lists of things that are problems. It's not actually problematic. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you might want a house, but your husband can't afford one. So because you can't afford one, that's not a problem.
Don't
It's
make it
what
a
you want.
problem.
Don't
Mm.
make it a problem. There are things you can. Oh, because for example, your husband says, "Oh, you snort at night." Okay, yeah, it's bad,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a problem. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not the reason to separate children from their parents. It's not a reason to end a marriage and walk away because someone
Mm.
snores at night. I mean, there are lots of things that are problematic, but not a problem. So
Mm.
first diagnose it, see how it works out. Like I said, don't expect perfection. This doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't
Mm.
happen.
Mm. Okay, okay. People are going mad on the chat. They're writing whole heap of questions, whole heap of things. If
Cussing me off, yeah.
anyone want, I don't know, I can't. But I'm saying, if anyone in the group wants to say something, wants to contribute, wants to talk about their experience, put your hand up, and I'll come to you. I can't go through all of the chat because it's just long. So yeah, you're welcome to contribute to the conversation. Um, I think people are seeking perfection. Oh, here we have some. We have. Let me just let this guy come in now. It's iPhone. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna bring you in right now.
Afwan, that's me. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
Right,
alaikum
alaikum salam.
salam to the barakat. Sorry, is your name iPhone? What's your name, brother?
No, it's Murtaza, but my phone didn't, for some reason, didn't get my name.
No problem. Fadl.
Assalamu alaikum, Muawiyah.
Wa alaikum salam salam.
Barakallahu feek for the nasiha. I just have a quick question. So, do you feel like the first underlying issue is that many of us don't know how to find a suitable spouse for whatever reason? Maybe we may have learned through different duruses and stuff like that, but somehow we weren't able to, utilize it. Or do you think that's the first issue? Because it goes without saying, as an adult, whether you're a man or a woman, that we all have individual responsibilities. So, I mean, it goes without saying you have to provide. It goes without saying you have to respect each other. It goes without saying that when one is angry, you stay calm and then sort out the situation later, right? Like, what do you think really? Why is there so many issues? Like, what do you think the root cause is?
The root cause of all of most of our issues is because this world is a test, brother. We're not here to have an easy, good life. We're here to be tested and tried, and your biggest test will come from your family, from your wife, from your children, from your parents. That's just how it is, and how you deal with that test will determine what will happen in the hereafter. So once we acknowledge that we will be tested and we have to be tested, now we need to understand, how do I pass the test. So I would say it's more to do with implementation of what we've learned realistically. Realistically, that'll be one thing. And secondly, in terms of finding a spouse, um, it's hard for me to really give uh, too much advice about that because I've been very relaxed myself about things. My belief is that if you have basic compatibility, when you have a conversation, you can have a conversation for more than 10 minutes, and you can laugh at something. That's not that's good enough. I mean, it sounds simple. It
Mm.
sounds almost too simple, but really and truly, if you can have a conversation with someone and bust a joke and they laugh and then just return the joke and it's good, then actually how isn't it done? It's basic stuff. Um, and I know it's a bad example. I'm gonna give because it's not something I advise people to do, but it's just a demonstration of the reality of human beings. Kuffar, when they go to work in the workplace, they meet people and colleagues in the workplace. They don't necessarily have any attraction to them initially, but as time moves on, as they speak to them and as they interact with them, things can develop. Same thing in university, same thing in college. It's not like you see someone and in the first moment, yes, I have to marry that person. Sometimes after speaking with them, things develop and they get married and live happily ever after. Or classically, in the past, people especially of our grandparents and great grandparents, when they just were arranged to have a marriage and they got married and things were moved on. See, the level of compatibility is actually very low, but people put it up really high. I know it's easier said than done,
Mm-hmm.
but I find it hard to believe that it's if once you've got past basic compatibility that you just can't um,
Can't
make it
make it
work.
work.
Make it
Make
work.
it
Yeah.
work. Mm. Jade. Okay, we've got Abu Suleiman. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Mawi, akhi?
Wa alaikum salam to Allah.
Anyway, hold on. I don't know if you hold
Oh, sorry. Faddal. 1 second. Your mic is. Can you unmute yourself?
on.
Faddal.
Hey,
Assalamu alaikum.
Shaykhuna, mashallah,
How
mashallah.
are you, Mawi? A long time no see ya.
We is good, brother. We is good, mashallah. How's things, brother?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, long time. Yeah, how has it been?
Mashallah. Still looking handsome, brother. Mashallah.
You look too handsome, bro. MashaAllah. Anyway, I think the discussion, regarding the question of a perfect and imperfect marriage, I would say, from experience, Mawi, as you know, is that it depends from people to people, individual to individuals.
Mhm.
Because what it is that I remember, and here I'm not picking on you, yeah, but I remember, when you became Muslim, you came to me and said, Ilyas, find me a sister. And do you remember what I said to you?
Bro, that's like 20 years ago.
Yeah, come on, what did I say to you?
I have no idea.
I said to you, yeah, Maria, remember this, yeah? You're going to get the sister before me. You will get married before me. Did you get married before me, yes or no?
I think so.
And then I came to you, I said, do you know any sisters? Do you remember that?
Bro, I have no recollection of any of this
No,
conversation,
but what
bro.
I'm trying to say to you is that everybody's different. Now,
Yeah,
because some brothers may consider that they're from certain background, it's easier for them to get married, and
yeah.
some people are from other background, it's easier for them to get married. It is all different. Allah has decreed for you to get married, whoever Allah has decreed for you to get married. That being said, if you put barriers, criteria, unrealistic, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
that I want her to be Hafiz, I want her to be this. As the saying goes, akhi, the way I see it is that I want to marry an angel, but I'm a believing devil.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
want perfection from the other side, but are you perfect? If
Mm-hmm.
you're not perfect, then don't expect perfection from the other side. So if you are, I would say hypocritical in terms of your practice, that you practice here, practice there, you do this, you do that, then know that whoever you're going to get married to, don't expect that person to be either same as you or better than you.
You know what's ironic? What you said is that unfortunately there are many people out there who actually think they are perfect.
I know.
And
Okay.
that's the sad, and that's part of the problem.
And
Mm.
it's like, every time when brothers come to me, do you know any sister? The question is, sister, they have the criteria, brothers have the criteria, and you try to balance it out who are able to get along. And that middle people, they have I would say, a sincere, difficult job to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I could get a sister, you could get a brother, but if both of them get married and this problem happens, the people to blame is not both of them, but the middle people. Because for them, you should have investigated the information about that person before you gave that person to me. And I say
Mm-hmm.
to the brothers, if you're not strong enough, if you're not bold enough to ask the right question at the beginning of your meeting, then your marriage is doomed to fail sooner or later. Because why? You didn't ask the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where one of the problems of perfect and imperfect marriage comes in, is that sisters expect that the boy to be perfect. I don't need to ask questions because the referral people are good people. They've been married for 5 years, 10 years. That's their marriage. That's not going to be your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I think that both parties, they need to wake up to reality, and that whoever is getting them together, do not judge the people that bringing together as the criteria of the husband and wife you're going to get. Sometimes there are people out there who have the beard, the hijab, and the niqab, but once they take it off, you're like, Subhanallah, who did I marry? There are
Mm-hmm.
cases, as you know, where
Yeah.
people are just, they got beard and everything, but they're not praying, but they're doing drugs, they're doing this, they're doing that. And there are
Mm-hmm.
sisters who are dressed totally, but they are boyfriend, girlfriend,
But
etc.
in saying that, even saying that though, we can say we can. I mean, the way I think about straight or about life, about people, is that you could marry someone who isn't like any like any isn't like any of that. They're not on
Yeah,
drugs, not any of that stuff. and then after that comes, I mean, there's no guarantees for anything.
Yeah.
So what would a person? I mean, for example,
No, I'm
what
saying
would a
even
brother
the
go
I'm
on?
saying even from the Quran, you will have to marry the people of the book, Ahlul
Mhm,
Kitab. So
mhm,
even they're like they have no faith at all. But
mhm.
depending on the manners and the etiquettes, that's
Yeah,
what attracts you to marry them.
yeah,
And
because the potential that they have as well, how well they can. There's actually one amazing case. There's one brother I met. He was half Filipino, half Bangladeshi. And he mentioned that his mum and dad, she was a Filipino Christian, and his dad was obviously Bengali Muslim. But his mum and dad broke up when he was very young. But Alhamdulillah, his mum still raised him as a Muslim, still took him to madrasa, although his dad wasn't around. I mean, in the same house. And I was like, mashallah, that is actually an amazing woman, because being a practicing Christian, you would expect her to just do her own thing. But she respected her ex-husband that much that she still raised his son as he wanted to, even though she wasn't his wife anymore. Now that is a level of respect, which I mean, it's hard to get, and but that's essentially what that comes down to good character. It can even come from a Christian. If you have someone who's such good character, that can even and maintain the fort and do well. But like I said, the long story short is that whatever you do in terms of leaving with someone, it's a long journey, and they could be righteous today and munafiq tomorrow, munafiq today and righteous tomorrow. There's no guarantees for any of it, and just Bismillah, Allah, and then see how it goes. That's my approach. As long as they have the basic foundational roots that works forward or works towards a good marriage. I defined them earlier on. The willingness to learn and acknowledgement of ignorance. If they have those two things, I think they got a good basis. If they know about how to be a good husband already, they already know everything. You can't tell me anything. Blah blah blah. Bro, there was one sister I was helping get married. So it was her and the brother, and there was me in the group, and they were doing their chatting. And the way the brother was talking, I'm like, oh no. Everything she said, he replied back with lines and lines of hadith and ayat, and don't do this, not doing that. I'm like, brother, just talk to the sister, man. Just talk to her on a level. Why are you lecturing the sister? I mean, just talk, please. Just talk. Anyway,
but maybe he thought that was the best thing to do to impress her.
Well,
he's gonna come,
Well, the thing is, I would say that kind of attitude does work for certain types of people. I can see some sisters might have even appreciated that. But what I was trying to get through to the brothers that, look, you're here to talk about marriage, not da'wah. Do the da'wah another time. All we're trying to establish here is that when you're behind closed doors, when you're alone, can you have a basic conversation? Can you get along? Can you decide where to eat this evening? Can you decide what to buy or go? Can you just have a basic conversation, or is it dead? And needless to say, it was dead.
It was dead. Okay. Question, Sheikh.
Yeah.
The woman was created from Adam's rib, Sheikh.
Yeah.
How do you understand this hadith? That if you try to straighten it, it means divorce. It will lead to divorce. How do you understand this, Sheikh?
So I mean, the explanation of the ulama is quite straightforward. Basically, if you try to make your wife as you want her to be, she will break, and it will lead to divorce. Meaning that you won't be able to achieve what you want to achieve. You try to straighten the rib, but with all your efforts to try and straighten it out to how you want it to be, it won't happen. Now, I could speculate as to the reason why that is, and that's because she's not a man. I mean, you might want her to be a certain way, but she's not. She can't be that way because she's not a man. A woman acts like a woman, and a man acts like a man. I mean, it's like that debate or that discussion that Mohammed Hijab had with that transsexual guy or transgender guy. He asked the guy said, "Oh, I from a very young age I felt like I was a woman," and Mohammed Hijab says, "What does that feel like then? How would you know what it feels like to be a woman? You've never been one before, so how do you know what it likes to be like a woman?" So I'm saying a woman's experiences, her life, what she has to go through makes her or shapes her in a certain way. And the same thing like a man. And if you try and make a woman like a man, essentially trying to make her, you're trying to make her in a way that's not according to her nature. A rib, by its nature, is curved,
and
and to
serves a
straighten
purpose.
it
Yes,
is
yeah.
not is outside of its nature. So by trying to straighten, you're trying to denature the woman. That's the way you use it. You're trying to denature the woman. So basically, what it means is acknowledge her for her curves. Pun intended. Acknowledge her.
Yes, you
For her.
have to do that. Yes, we do that, brother. We do that.
Leave the curve as it is, and I think that's very important. Once you acknowledge that this is how, for example, you can't expect your wife to like football like you like football. I mean, or to like games like you like games. She is how she is, and you how you are. Enjoy her for how she is, and she will enjoy you for how you are, and then that's it. I think that's what it is. It's about basically trying to enjoy the rib as the rib was.
Excellent. Another question about micromanaging the woman, feeling that you have to tell the woman everything to do, like when to get up, when to sleep, what to clean, what to wash. Meaning you could even call it belittling your own partner's ability to manage herself and manage the home or whatever.
Mhm.
Is that a good recipe for success? It's obviously not. But some people, some sisters put a thing about men trying to micromanage women and not giving them the freedom to be having some independence.
You know, it is again. It's like it's basically just what we just said a minute ago about growing to accept your wife or your husband for how they are. The only reason why someone would want to tell their wife or husband to do this that way and do that way and do this way and do that way is if they actually genuinely believe there's no other way to do it other than this way. And that's where the problem lies, isn't it? The problem lies is that in most things in life, there's more than one ways to do it. For example, do you set the pillows and then do the covers, or do the covers and set the pillows? I mean, it's not really an issue. I mean, I know of a case where a brother really had issues with his wife because she didn't boil the tea bag with the tea and the milk to make it how his mum made it. So it actually caused a big issue at one point in their marriage because she didn't make the tea that particular way. Okay, then make it yourself then, isn't it? I mean, yeah. So it's just best to get that, brother. It's just you can give advice, you can try your best. If it doesn't work, do it yourself then, isn't it? So, but again, that's a bit of a generic answer because, I mean, one could make an argument, make a case that maybe she needs micromanagement, maybe she's dysfunctional, maybe she needs advice, or vice versa. Maybe he needs advice. It depends. But generally speaking, in a nutshell, when it comes to advice, I always say to people, give advice in a manner that you would accept it. Because obviously, as you know, sometimes a person might not accept manners, advice given a certain way. Raising your voice, being condescending. For example, you can let me give you an example. Husband comes home late, and wife's not happy about it. So how would you communicate that better? Or sorry, how could you communicate that? She could say, "Oh, you're late again." Yeah, saying late again, that is expressing discontent. That's expressing
You're watching me. You're watching
malice. It expresses, that you've done something wrong. That kind of stuff. Okay, how about this one? Maybe. How about this approach? Darling, if you come early next time, I'll do something nice for you, innit? You see, that it's the same thing. But one is encouraging, and one is saying, "This woman's getting my nerves." So it's about how to deliver the shot. You could kill the game with one bullet to the head, or you can keep the shoot like that and just hope that it hits, and maybe you catch it, maybe you won't catch it. I don't know, but what I would suggest though, as a general thing, and almost every topic I discuss marriage, I always mention this book because I believe it is a key piece of material to help people understand acknowledging the one's differences, and that is called Empowered Wife. Empowered Wife is a book written by Laura Doyle, something like that. She's a kafira, not Muslim, which is why I encourage it, because almost every single thing in that book, minus one tiny piece about shared accounts, is in line with Islam. And this is my own experiences of having a marriage which almost failed. And she consulted with the elders in her community about how they managed to maintain their marriage. And essentially, she said some of what we said already. But basically, in a nutshell, one of the main things that she mentions in there is, I mean, I could summarize the whole book in this phrase by saying, how to get your husband to willingly listen to you and do what you want. And if I want to be crude about it, how can you manipulate your husband in a productive manner? Now, reason why I find that book very informative and very, which I even encourage men to read it, is because she actually pinpoints quite accurately, actually, how men are. So she's a woman trying to talk to other women, and she's trying to tell women, this is what men are. This is how their brain function. It might seem weird to you, but it's because that's how men function. As for us, this is how we function. So if you want to get something from him, you have to use your female charms and your female skills to do that. Yeah. And there are ways in which there are ways in which it's like trying to put out a fire with a canister of petrol. You can do that, you can try, but you're only going to make things worse, or you can try and douse it with some water. So that's basically, she gives you, I think, 7 or 8 key skills to douse out the fire and to get him to do what you want. And one of the key ones is like acknowledging his what's the word? How does she put it?
His manhood, his position or status.
His authority, like his authority as an acknowledge. I mean, you can do things together. Obviously, she's not Muslim, so she's not coming from this, Islam says, like, she's not coming from that angle, but she's just saying, look, men have testosterone, men have this feeling of wanting to be in charge. You could even be in charge, but be in charge in a way that he feels he's in charge. You could do that.
Yes,
it could happen. But it's subtle things. It's subtle things. Like, for example, one of them was, I really laughed at because I really found it really amazing. She mentioned one chapter about how do you accept gifts? How do you accept a gift? If a husband gives you a gift and it's not what you wanted, act like it's the most important gift you've ever received in your life, because by that reaction, he's gonna buy you more. But if you tell him, I don't want this, what are you giving me this for? Why you give me a knife for? You bought it for yourself, man. That's not what I wanted. Then what you're doing is you're sending the message, don't buy me anything, because if you do, I'm gonna punish you for it. It's easy to reward him even for his mistakes. But then once you've rewarded him for his mistake, then you can channel him to what you want in a nicer manner. It's basically read the damn book, man. Read the book. Empowered Wife, Laura Doyle. You can get it on iTunes. You can get it on Amazon, physical or digital copy. Let me see if I can show you the book now. But go on.